Anthony Accatatta, ship fitter, second class. The ship was very tight. That's about the best description I can give as far as a destroyer goes. And the older they were, the tighter they got. And if you go aboard a Arleigh Burke class destroyer now, it's like living at the Ritz compared to what we had. As I said, for the first 2 years we didn't even have air conditioning on board. The only place that was air conditioned were the electronic spaces, because they had to keep the electronic gear cool. Like sonar, radar, those were air conditioned. Central CIC, that was also air conditioned. But it was a space that had a lot of electronics. Most of the other spaces were ventilated. They would take outside air, but like when you're in the Persian Gulf and it's over 100 degrees, inside it's even hotter than that. The bunks were 3 high. You had about, this much space between the bunks. And at one time, we had a midshipman cruise where we had taken aboard midshipmen, and we had to put another bunk in between one of those racks. So you only had about this much space on those 2 bunks. And you couldn't even turn over. You had to go in sideways, come out sideways. There was no turning over. That's how tight it was. And they were comfortable enough. I mean, they had a mattress about that thick. And but it was just very close quarters. In a compartment about this size, you would probably, I'm going to say, sleep 15 to 20 men. The compartment that I was in was right in front of the ship fitter shop where I worked, so that was very convenient. The guys that had it the worst as far as heat goes, whether it was winter or summer, were the guys in the boiler room. The firemen that controlled the boilers, and the guys in the engine room. Their space was a little bit better. I mean, these were 2 gigantic spaces, 4 gigantic spaces, because there were 2 boiler rooms and 2 fire rooms. And these guys hardly ever saw the light of day, because they were either working down there during the day or on watch at night. So it was very rough for those type of personnel. The galley was on the main deck, and you would get your chow. They would cook it there and then bring it down to what they called the steam line. You would wait in line, go down a ladder, get your food, and then go into what was called the mess decks. And it would take time to get through, but the mess decks was big enough that there would always be a seat available to get through it. The food was very good. We were quite lucky. All the time that I was on board, we always had great cooks. They were great bakers. They used to bake sticky buns and fresh bread, because out at sea there was no 7-Eleven to stop by and pick up a loaf of bread, so they had to bake all any kind of baked goods was all baked on board the ship. But I enjoyed the food. You know, some guys would complain, but there's always somebody that's going to complain about anything, so you take that with a grain of salt. But I enjoyed it, and there were many others that enjoyed it too. Well, we had, while I was on board ship, they changed them about every 2 years. So I think I had Captain Voorhees, Captain Mercer, and one other one. I don't recall what his name was. But there were 3 captains while I was on board. And the first one I didn't know that well, because I wasn't on board too long after he was transferred, probably several months after I came on board. Captain Mercer was very good captain. And matter of fact, he was invited to the Orange Bowl game in Florida to represent the Navy. Our ship was sent down there to represent the Navy at that football game, and President Kennedy was there.